Alright, we're gonna go out for a little walk in the backyard. I saw some pretty cool birds out earlier when I was walking the dog, but he didn't really want to cooperate with me. So I'm just gonna come out here and check it out, see what we got going on. We had over there, I don't know if you can see it or not, there's a bird called a roseate spoonbill. And it's a pretty common bird in Florida, actually, along the coast. They like shallower waters where they can use their wide rounded bills as filters for small little aquatic insects and crustaceans, and as well as fish. There goes a cormorant. Those are pretty plentiful around here as well. The roseate spoonbill is the one crossing that little channel right now. You can tell by its pink plumage. It's coming up behind a little family of mallard ducks, and there's even about three or four, counting, just three. They're called black belly whistling ducks, and they don't quack. They make this high-pitched whistling sound. There you go, you can probably hear that. And another cool thing that we get around here quite often, because of the secluded nature of this pond and the fact that there's no real busy roads near it, is we get sandhill crane pairs. Sometimes singles, but usually pairs. This pair, I think, they look a little on the small side, so this could be a pair of fledglings that have been pushed out of the nest. But they like to play. Let's see how much, interest we can get. Sometimes when you get a little too close to them, they'll make this really cool alert call. It's really loud. A lot of people in Florida find it annoying. Over there, that's a great gray heron that just landed up in that tree over there. And coming right our way, I don't know if you can see it, there's a cormorant and just came out of that tree. And there's one over there on the post sticking up out of the mud over there. This backyard is such a wonderful place for bird life. There goes the cormorant, or one of them. Here we got a little closer now on the roseate spoonbill. Now see, they're a little more skittish, so I'm not going to try to get too close to it. But yeah, they don't come around here as often as some of the other birds, like the bird that's right behind it, which is an ibis, which are fairly common around here. You see those quite often around here. They like to hunt through people's yards, and they pick out grubs and other insects. These two are doing a semi-mating dance. But I think those two are just juveniles, because the adults stand quite a bit higher. There's that bright pink plumage of the roseate spoonbill. Such a cool bird. We're gonna keep wandering around over here. This is just a regular Florida retention pond, stormwater runoff type thing. And right now it's low because we haven't had a whole lot of rain this year. But this is the end of May. Today is May 28th, Thursday. And it's getting to our rainy season here. Hurricane season starts in a couple of days. And with that usually comes the Florida thunderstorms, which are pretty impressive in their own right sometimes. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I've actually seen green lightning around here. I've only seen that happen a couple of times, and that was about 20 years ago. But back then they didn't have GoPros and digital cameras and all that stuff. I was still in high school. So actually, no, let me rephrase that. It's probably 24 years ago now. I don't like to think that I'm that old, but I am. Well, at least on paper. See what we can get in the ways down here. I try not to mess with the birds too much because I don't want them to be scared to come to our pond. So there you go. That's a good shot of the roseate spoonbill. How he filters it. He's got his mouth open and he moves it back and forth and back and forth. And the tip of their bills are really sensitive. And if something ends up between their open jaws, they clamp it down real fast. And they use it to kind of filter out the water, and then they swallow what's left. Over there is a great egret. Some people call it a great white egret or great white heron. They're the same species, or not species, but the same family of birds. Cattle egrets are just smaller versions. There goes another cormorant. Those guys are really getting around today. As you can tell, we just recently had some rain. Kind of damp out here. It wasn't a hard rain, so it didn't really fill up the pond too much. But it's been drizzling off and on all day today. In fact, that's how I got woken up, is by a very out of the blue peal of thunder. It was extremely loud. But when the pond is up at its normal level, these parts are not even really accessible because this is all flooded out. It's all got water, and it's kind of hard to tell. But if you look at this branch here, right where I'm standing, and that's about 6 feet off the ground, because I'm 6 feet tall and it's a little bit taller than I am, so maybe about 6.5 feet off the ground. About 3 years ago when we got the hurricanes, that's how far the water came up to. So that should give you an idea of just how far this pond has come down. And the water came all the way up to these houses that are back here, and even over there where that white fence is at, the white picket fence there, that's actually my house, and that's where the water actually came up to, maybe just a little bit beyond our fence. So we didn't get flooded out, thankfully. A lot of people did, but yeah, it came up probably about 15 or 20 feet above normal. And this pond is super deep. It doesn't really look like it when you're sitting down this far, but yeah, it's a fairly substantial sized hole in the ground. I always like these dead trees back here. They look really nice. They're cool looking. Very quintessential of backwoods Florida. You know, this isn't really backwoods Florida. We're actually only about 15 miles away from Apollo Beach. So we're not too far from the coast. But these have always been a nice photo op for me. I've always enjoyed coming out here and taking pictures of these trees. Just, you know, we have seen some snakes out here, mainly black racers, which are pretty common around here, especially in the summertime. I saw one water moccasin, like I said, about maybe 20 years ago. It's very green back here. I don't want to go back too far because I'm wearing shorts. And if there does happen to be any water moccasins or copperheads back here, I'm not too keen on encountering them with my bare legs. So but this kind of thing here is very quintessentially Florida. These kinds of big sprawling trees with grass and vines and palmetto bushes underneath them. Carry a walking stick out here, not just because it helps me scare out snakes if there's anything in front of me, but I got bad knees, so it gives me some extra support when I walk on this uneven terrain. That right there looks to be a it's probably one of the feathers from the either an egret or the heron. Not sure which. It's kind of hard to tell. Unfortunately, from what I'm given to understand, I've lived in this area for quite a while, since I was in, since before I was in high school. We moved down here in 1991, the end of 91, right after Desert Storm. The summer of 91, after school was over. And we used to live, oh look at that, a rather pretty butterfly. Sorry, Mr. Butterfly, I did not mean to disturb your rest. But yeah, oh yeah. So we lived over here since middle of 91. So, and I went to junior high over here in high school before I went into the military in 96. And from what I'm given to understand from people who are familiar with this particular area, even though I lived not too far from here in high school, that this whole back area used to be a dump. People would come back here and illegally dump, and so unfortunately there is a lot of trash back here. Fortunately, a lot of it doesn't seem to be as visible at the moment. I'll check when the video gets uploaded. But sometimes you can find some interesting stuff after a rainstorm when the sand gets washed down. It washes, it reveals rocks, and stuff, trash. I found some pretty interesting pieces of ceramic tile, glass from very old bottles, all kinds of different colors and blues and greens. Something else that's unfortunate, but a part of life nonetheless, is we have a lot of the Florida softshell turtles live in this pond as well. And during the early part of spring, they come out and they dig their turtle holes to lay their eggs in, and that attracts crows and various other birds and snakes. So this seems to be the job of some crows, and they get down there and they dig as deep as they can, and they pull out as many eggs as they can for an easy meal. Sometimes they don't even wait for the mother to finish laying the eggs, and it's kind of a horrible thing to think about. You're literally giving birth or weighing your children, and some big old black bird is eating them right in front of you. But that is a circle of life, and that is the reason why they lay so many eggs, is to increase the chance and likelihood that some will survive. Here's some more eggs, probably hauled out of another nest that I can't really see right now because the rain has covered it up. Sometimes you come out here, this is a backfill that they use to fix this culvert, because this thing, as you can see, in some ways it's washed out pretty good. And it used to be more of a straight shot up to the top of the hill, and they had to put a reducer for the water flow because it was washing out all the dirt and the culvert was collapsing. So it used to be at more of a down angle. Now it's more straight and level. And this is the flow reducer top is right here, and it's probably about 6 or 7 feet down below me is the bottom of it. And there used to be a beautiful oak tree here that, when the hurricanes came and brought up the waters all the way up to this point, it covered, you know, the oak trees can handle that a few times, provided it doesn't stay too long, but some of the waters covered up the roots of that tree for several weeks, and it happened several times. And as a result of that, it killed the tree, and it slowly died over time. And it was a really big tree with humongous limbs, and the local government county came and took the tree down because the humongous limbs were starting to fall, and the people in the area didn't want anything to have happen to them, you know, have a limb fall on them or their children. So the county came and redirected the stormwater runoff and took down that tree in the process. So there you go. That's the sound of those whistling ducks. They make a whistling sound, not really a... And as you can see, these are old buried tires from when this place was a dump, and I've had several of them hauled out of here before already as they get washed down, and eventually we'll have to call the homeowners association and say, hey, look, we need somebody to come out here and do a cleanup around here. And all kinds of stuff that you find out here. Lots of glass. It's almost like that beach in California where they used to have a landfill. Some ducks. Some of the mallards. But this was just a test of the new GoPro I got earlier this afternoon. I hope that those of you who get the opportunity to watch this video enjoy it and its content, even if not in its duration, because I don't think it's going to be very long, maybe 10 or 15 minutes at the most. But the rains are starting to come back, and this is pretty much how it's been all day today. You go, cormorants. That's like having our own little wildlife sanctuary back here. It dries up every couple years, and so not really much opportunity for fish to survive bigger than, say, minnows. During the summertime when the frogs spawn, you get a lot of tadpoles, but that's about as far as it goes for, you know, aquatic life. We do get a lot of turtles out here, and with the unfortunate rain that is now encroaching yet again, I think I will go ahead and give one more pan of the pond and leave y'all with that.